The young son in this is actually deaf, or sorry, the young son in this is deaf, so it also brings in that layer. Boy's got no sense in this, okay? Welcome back. This is part 2 of our top 10 films of 2023.
So glad that this next one is another mutual of ours, because this is one of my favorite films of the year, and that's Ari Aster's latest, Beau is Afraid. We went into it in depth in our review. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. Good God, it is so rich upon a rewatch.
Yeah.
Being able to pause it and look at the level of production design, the details, the scale of this thing is on par with classic giant scenery Hollywood filmmaking. Down to, the theater sequence in the woods, the craziness at the beginning in the city, the bananas finale, which I won't spoil.
Oh God, yes. I think about Beau is Afraid so much. This is the kind of madness I can get behind.
It's anxiety horror. It's anxiety drama. It keys into a lot of instinctive behavior that we take for granted in modern society, the way we have gotten used to things that frighten us, the way we accept and tolerate things that upset us. And Beau is the ultimate human doormat. I've definitely felt that way in my life before, and I think most of us have, where we're putting up with things. We're trying to make everyone happy. This shows you the worst possible way you could do that.
Ari Aster was reaching for the stars with this third one.
It's Wizard of Oz. It's Lord of the Rings. It's that structure mixed with modern depression, anxiety, and paranoia. And I know that doesn't sound like a good time, but in my twisted goddamn mind, it was.
Next up for me is Celine Song's Past Lives. And understated is the word. Past Lives is about a Korean American woman played by Greta Lee, who emigrated to the United States with her family when she was a child, and her soulmate that she met when she was in Korea, South Korea, reconnects with her 20 years later when she now is successful and living in New York and married. Anyone who's ever had a past relationship in their life can relate to this movie. We all think about what if a single decision was made differently to lead you down a different path. And what we've got here is just a delicate, elegant statement about what Korean Americans specifically sacrifice when they try to start over their lives in the United States. And it's all portrayed so quietly and with such restraint, maybe a little too much restraint, which is one of the things that kept me from being overwhelmed with emotion when we saw this movie. But I can't deny the power of the ideas and the themes. One of the things that just held me back with it was I think it's so focused on the main central idea in here about reconnecting and contemplating your destiny and love and love over time. But I find the movie kind of sidelines what I think actually would happen in that situation is when adult addresses their real world relationships that are in now.
I think the way people personally connect with it is going to vary. But I think what's undeniable is the three central performances are all really, really strong.
Past Lives, why I can't shake it, why I keep thinking about it months after seeing it, is that it doesn't wrap everything in a bow. I think that's intentional in its design. And that's a reflection, an accurate reflection of the situation, not only that our protagonist is going through, but the dualism of complex love lives and how we connect with other people in our relationships. And that's very profound.
Oh, hell yeah. Here we go. Jonathan, Giovanni, Johnny, John Wick, Chapter 4 is totally in my top 10. Are we even messing around with this?
Here we go.
I saw this 2 times in theaters, people. John Wick Chapter 4, it is too much. And that's why I love it so much. It is this beautiful swan song to a modern cinematic hero, anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. John Wick is an amalgamation of all the things we love, not only about action movies, not only about Keanu Reeves, not only about stunt work, but just about cinematic gluttony. I really love that I could go to a movie like John Wick Chapter 4 this year and shamelessly sit back for 3 hours of just pulsing, frankly, delightfully mind-numbing action that I remember every single scene. I remember every single set piece. It's like ballet. It's all about the choreography for me, people. At this point, I'm appreciating what every single stunt actor is doing, the way they're taking the hits. But what I like about every single sequel is the increasing ridiculousness, the increasing excess, the increasing excitement. John Wick is very special for that reason. And I don't think it's mandated that everyone needs to love this movie as much as me. I wouldn't expect them to. But it's the movie I've literally watched the most times this year that came out in 2023. I love my man Keanu. Mm-hmm. I love action movies. And I love John Wick Chapter 4.
Amen. What's the next one that we both like? It's something really small. Mm-hmm. It's something really small, right?
Godzilla Minus One, people. If you've tuned into our channel, you have maybe seen our video, but...
Yeah, who isn't enthusiastic about this movie? Godzilla's pretty rad. For all of the reasons that we already said, this is a pretty terrific encapsulation of earnest, big-hearted human melodrama with measured and focused and harrowing monster action. And it's really exciting when this really comes along and a movie just, without having any kind of pretense, just crushes it.
What I like about this Godzilla is he's essentially an animal. He's a force of nature, and he doesn't stop. But what this focuses on primarily is if this happened to a country that was reeling from not only a national defeat, but also national trauma in terms of being bombed, how would they handle a second wave of trauma with a cataclysmic creature like Godzilla? And it treats it seriously. It treats it gravely. And the characters that we're introduced to become this found family. And the fact that the Godzilla movie could make the stakes feel that palpable says a lot.
People had a strong reaction to this movie here in the States because we were just so starved. Don't hesitate to check out our Godzilla Minus One review for a more in-depth take. So this is actually my favorite movie of 2023, and it is A.V. Rockwell's 1001. 2023 was a great year for stories about motherhood, and 1001 is like the queen of that. This is a movie starring Teyana Taylor as a young mother who has just come out of Rikers, and she is trying to reconnect with her son who has been put into the foster care system. She makes a decision. She has a small window. She makes a decision to just simply abduct him and reconnect with him and create a family and start a life with her and her partner, who is also getting out of jail. It's a story about seizing back your motherhood, your right, against a system that is actively working against you. From the very beginning of this film, there is so much hope and love and strength of family that bonds so much of this story and this narrative. And it follows their relationship from when he is a 5-year-old kid to when he's 17 years old and about to go on to the next stage of his life. You just feel it when this movie starts, just the score alone. It makes you kind of bounce along to this mini odyssey that's going on through Harlem in New York in the 1990s.
Period piece storytelling at its best, because it's not about needle drops or, hey, remember that moment?
Phenomenally performed by Teyana Taylor. She's known mostly for being a badass dancer, but she really just has a breakout here and really shows her range as an actress. And it is one of my favorite performances of the year, male or female. A lot of layers, a lot of dimension, excellent script that fully forms all the characters in here. Okay, to be fair, on the cryometer, 1001 does not make me cry, but it fills my heart, it fills my mind, it fills my soul. Please, please, please watch 1001.
What inspires you more than 2 alien brothers showing up on our planet to torture a business mogul who wants to become immortal? Look no further than Eddie Alcazar's sci-fi experimental drama, Divinity. Divinity is one of those rare films that feels like pure cinematic confrontation. It's shot on black and white film stock, which is always cool, but it lends an otherworldly quality to this movie. It's not arbitrary at all. The movie is unmistakably evocative of early David Lynch. Look no further than Eraserhead, one of the most influential films of all time, but it's very much doing its own thing. With Divinity, what you have in terms of setup is Stephen Dorff, a guy who's going through a little bit of his own mini renaissance. He plays a completely deplorable a-hole in this, who is the CEO of a company that peddles a product that supposedly makes you immortal. When two otherworldly beings show up to basically make him binge on his own product, the film goes from there. And it goes in very disturbing places. What I like about this film so much is its dreamlike qualities. The imagery is incredibly arresting, and it also blends live action with a little bit of stop motion flair, which is really, really cool. Steven Soderbergh produced this. He wanted to give Eddie Alcazar a leg up, and this is a film that, if you're bothered by people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and others, Divinity is a great takedown of that concept of the cult of CEO personality. And it was really cathartic to watch. So check it out. Beautifully experimental Divinity. Moving on to one of our other mutual favorites of the year would be the excellent courtroom drama, Anatomy of a Fall. This is a film that explores hearsay, perspective, different points of view. It's a story about a woman who basically goes to trial for the possible murder of her own husband because of the way the circumstances appear. And when it comes to trials of circumstantial evidence, this is one of the better portrayals of that I've ever seen.
A little almost stoic in approach. It might not necessarily be the most evocative movie of the year, but it is one of the absolute most thought-provoking.
It's anchored by a great performance by Sandra Hüller.
You don't want her to be necessarily proven innocent or guilty in that sense, but you just want there to be some clarity to what is going on. And that hunger and that itch is what Justine Triet gathers so well in this film. French court is wild. Let me just say, like, I had no frame of reference for how stuff goes down.
As unique as the French court system is to an outside eye, what this film does best is get into that idea of communication, not only in terms of language, but how we relate to each other, how a family relates to each other. And I can't even imagine how much more I pick up on when I rewatch it.
Gotta shout out to the son here, Milo Machado Grenier. Oh my gosh. He is heart-wrenching in this movie. The dog is heart-wrenching in this movie. It's so delicious how this really addresses the flaws in the court system too, and talks about when there aren't the facts, realizing what vulnerabilities humans really latch onto, whether it's the licentious nature of somebody, their own sexuality is used to vilify them. It doesn't matter whether you think this person is guilty or not. You're confronted with the ethics of how you approach dismantling somebody's character. And Anatomy of the Fall is one of the most fascinating dives into those questions and those issues that I've seen in years.
Go watch it.
Yeah. So that's it, right?
I think we got at least one more in common.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a biggie.
Our last mutual favorite of 2023 is none other than Oppenheimer!
It not only deals with an existential threat that is specific, but it becomes universal in its message. I told you, since I've rewatched this film, there's some obvious parallels you can draw to the threat of climate change in the modern day, but the threat of atomic doom has never left us.
Talk about a movie just filled with some of the most like mic-dropping performances of the year.
What is so great about Oppenheimer that I didn't expect is how strong it is as an ensemble piece. You're able to key into the mentality of these people working on it and what their motivations were at the time, why they found it to be their patriotic duty, not to blow away another country, but to ideally, hopefully, eliminate the threat of war altogether, which is a naive concept.
Oppenheimer wasn't a complete home run for me. I do think this is absolutely one of the best of the year. It is a nonstop barrage, and that's really just a reflection of Christopher Nolan's filmmaking. So much real world stuff at stake in this movie. So I was just exhausted by the end of this movie.
To deal with the character assassination of Oppenheimer himself and how that all comes down to pettiness in terms of someone like Strauss, it harkens to our modern political stagnation that we deal with on a constant basis, that frustration.
just kind of this yin and yang and this push and pull of this whole movie.
To see it on display like this so thoroughly was really eye-opening for me. But Oppenheimer all begins and ends with Cillian Murphy, and he's the one to beat this year.
I'm really excited that this really seems to be the movie that's getting Christopher Nolan that recognition.
Yeah.
And this movie delivers on damn near all fronts.
Well,
woo!
We're going to watch some more films between now and the end of award season, but so far, so good. And I think most of these are going to remain at the top of my pack no matter what I see. In the meantime, you can find us in all the usual places. Champs on Film on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, please. But also, we're on Twitter /X, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can find me, Eisenthor, and Marisol _Mariah. I'm tired, boss.
Hello, my name is Adam, and I wish I had put 1001 on my top 10.